This might be one of the most cursed items I've ever received in the mail. Inside this envelope are the very private, personal thoughts of a total stranger. Also, it might be haunted because I think a Victorian child wrote it. You can buy a total stranger's diary off of eBay, and that's what I did. It cost $18. I have no idea who this diary belonged to. All I really know about this diary is it was written in 1908. It's 116 years old. Some people will argue that that's like a little after the Victorian period. Those people are dorks. You know how the kids these days will refer to the 90s as the 1900s? To hurt my feelings personally. When I think of the 1900s, I think of 1908. Let's bust it out, shall we? Look at these Victorian children. Ooh. This is very soft and velvety. The person who wrote this is definitely dead. Sometimes I say they're probably dead and everyone's like, they could be alive. No, this person's dead. Death is usually how someone's diary ends up on eBay. So if you keep a diary and you happen to die one day, your diary might end up on eBay. This does smell musty, but it's like a subdued, tasteful musty. We're gonna try to figure out who was this person. Are they gonna spill any juicy secrets? What was going on in 1908? There are all these memes about Mountain Dew Baja Blast would instantly kill a Victorian child. Let's hear the Victorian child's perspective. Will there be love? Will there be murder? Old-timey murder? Something with creepy little children on it has to be cursed, right? Let's invade the privacy of a Victorian child. The first page says, to Margaret from Amy. February 14th, 1906. Wait, this is 1906. That's even earlier than 1908. On Valentine's Day, 1906, Amy gave this creepy diary to Margaret. This seems like something that a child or a teenager would have, not an adult. This first entry, here's what it says. Dear Marguerite, may your joys be as deep as the ocean and your sorrows as light as its foam. Your loving friend, Helen. That's so nice. I wonder if Helen made that up or if she's referencing an old-timey poem about the ocean. May your sorrows be as light as foam. As I look through this seems like it's an autograph book where all Margaret's friends say nice messages to her. When I was in school, people would sign your yearbook and be like, have a good summer. Everyone said have a good summer. It was so dull. I feel like we're gonna learn a lot about Margaret based on what her friends have to say to her. Imagine piecing together the image of you based solely on messages from your friends. This is gonna be really interesting. As I'm going through this, some big questions I have. How old is Margaret? I'm guessing maybe she's a teenager. I think we have a Victorian teen on our hands. And my biggest question is, do any of these messages come from someone who has a crush on Margaret? Are we gonna find a love story in here? Are we gonna find feelings of yearning? Do we have to read between the lines to see who's in love with Margaret? February 14th, 1906. San Francisco. All right, we've got a location alert, San Francisco. We've got ourselves a California girl. Dear Margaret, true happiness consists not in the multitude of friends, but in the worth and choice. Yours lovingly, Amy. This sounds like a riddle. I feel like Amy is trying to say quality over quantity when it comes to your friends. I just realized the historical significance of this being San Francisco, 1906. This was written 2 months before the huge San Francisco earthquake and fire. The San Francisco earthquake of 1906 was the deadliest earthquake in US history. After the fire that it caused, I think roughly 80% of the city was destroyed and 3,000 people died. These people living in San Francisco in 1906, when they wrote this, they were months away from a natural disaster of historic proportions. It feels ominous reading this. You know, I wonder, I'm like, was Margaret affected by the earthquake and the fire? Was she okay? Were her friends who wrote these messages affected? This is kind of a weird one that took me forever to decipher because just look at this handwriting. What is this? And this is from an adult, okay? The merriest folks are the best I know, for those who are happy and gay are the ones who are willing to stop and show livid people an easier way. Lovingly, your teacher, Dorothy. So Margaret's teacher wrote this message. It sounds kind of preachy. Happy people are the best because they're happy. Were people happier 100 years ago? Did technology make us all sad? Dear sister, just yesterday, 2 golden hours, each set with 60 diamond minutes. No reward is offered, for they are gone forever. Lovingly, your brother, Willis. June 1906. Well, that was depressing. This is after the big San Francisco earthquake that happened in April 1906. This is June 1906. We're at a period in time where the earthquake has already happened. This is new information. We know that Margaret has a brother named Willis. Okay, here's a confusing one. He who seeks to pluck the stars will lose the jewels at his feet. Your friend Lulu. January 31st, 1907. Berkeley, California. What are you talking about, Lulu? This is word salad. I'm trying to figure out what the deeper meaning is, and it just makes me feel tired. Man, this is so velvety. Don't you wish you could touch it? Touch your screen. Was it a practice back then to just like have an autograph book and then make your friends sign it like throughout your life? It's not a bad idea, actually. I think you should start this trend. Get a blank notebook and make your friends randomly just write messages or advice or cryptic poems. I actually really like this idea. I think we should all start doing this. This next page actually gives some insight into what the heck this book was meant to be. Lo, little book, go far and near to all Tootsie's friends so dear, and get them all to write a page that she may read in her old age. Edna. Okay, so Edna is shining light on the whole autograph book thing. I think we should keep doing this. I think it's a good tradition. These Victorian children had some good ideas. Dear Marguerite, round as a ring without any end, so is love for you, my friend, your friend, Dorothy. This one's a little saucy. Dear Marguerite, friends are like melons. Shall I tell you why? If you want a good one, you must 100 try. Your friend, Gladys. I think I agree with Gladys on this. Friends are like melons. Okay, this is the most insane handwriting I've ever seen in my life. It's cool, but it looks like there's a million ants crawling all over it. By design. Like, what? What the heck? Oakland, May 22nd, 1908. Dear Marguerite, fall from a housetop, fall from above. But Marguerite, Marguerite, don't fall in love. Your loving schoolmate, Gertrude. Gertrude is very cynical. October 14th, 1908, Berkeley, California. Dear Marguerite, remember me always as your loving friend, Esther. All right? Esther, not as creative as some of the others. Okay, I think this entry is giving me a clue about the age range of the people writing these messages, and I do think most of them are teens. I think that the person who wrote this, her name is Anna. I think she wrote her birth date down so you would know how old she was when she wrote this. So if she was born in 1893, in 1909 she would be 16. So I think Margaret and her friends are teenagers at this point. April 19th, 1909. Dear Marguerite, be good, sweet maid. Let those who will be clever. Do noble deeds, not dream them all day long. And so make life, death, and the vast forever one grand sweet song. Your true friend, Anna. Again, very cryptic. Also, wow. Life, death, and the vast forever. Here it is. We've officially found Margaret's dullest friend, Jeanette. Your sincere friend, Jeanette. Berkeley, January 30th, 1907. That's it? Let's face it, we all have at least one friend we know who, if we had an autograph book and said, write anything, a message, advice, a poem, whatever you want, they would just write, your sincere friend, and that's it. Hello, I am your friend, goodbye. Jeanette, you need to do better than this. Okay, this one gets creepy. This feels very Victorian creepy. Berkeley, California, October 14th, 1908. Dear Margaret, in memory's golden casket, drop one sweet pearl for me. Your loving schoolmate, Georgie. Memory's loving casket? So we're thinking about the memory of our life as a corpse? I mean, I guess that's true. What are we if not our memories? And one day we'll all be corpses. The Victorian children are as creepy as you would expect. This poem manages to be both sweet and morbid. Berkeley, California, January 31st, 1907. Dear Margaret, help one another, the snowflakes said, as they cuddled down in their fleecy bed. One of us here would quickly melt, but I'll help you, and you help me. And then what a splendid drift there'll be. Yours forever, aura. If you don't help your friends, they will melt. Think about it. These are starting to remind me of when I was in 9th grade and I had to memorize The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Startled by the stillness, broken by reply so aptly spoken. Why am I saying it like William Shatner? This one's a bit ominous. Berkeley, California, April 21st, 1909. Dear Margaret, as you travel through life, scatter kind words and gentle deeds. In so doing, you will enrich your soul. Withhold them, and it tends to poverty. Sincerely, your friend Anna. One thing I'm noticing that I feel like is still true about teens, very dramatic.
Hey there, pals. I'm just interjecting. As I edit this video, I've made an interesting discovery. So most of the entries in this autograph book are poems, and some of them seem original. Some of them I noticed right away were famous poems, but I actually think a lot of them aren't original. I just didn't recognize them because I don't know every poem. A lot of them seem, for lack of a better term, not good, so I just assumed that they were made up by the person writing them. So the most recent poem about scattering kind words actually comes from a book published in 1881 called The Album Writer's Friend. So this autograph book thing that the kids were doing in the early 1900s was so commonplace that they actually sold a book full of little poems and messages and sayings for you to then write in your friend's autograph book. It was that much of a thing.
Okay, this is the best poem I've ever read in my life. Oakland, California, May 22nd, 1908. Dear Margaret, when you get married and your baby is cross, come over to my house and eat applesauce. Yours forever, Marjorie. Now that's a good friend. This person is definitely quoting a famous poem. Laugh and the world laughs with you. Weep and you weep alone. Blah blah, etc. May 22nd, 1908. Dear Margaret, when hills and dills divided us and you no more I see, remember it was Hannah who wrote these lines to thee. Your loving schoolmate, Hannah. Dills? What are dills? I only know of dill as an herb. I gotta look this up. Or perhaps she meant hills and dales, because that's a thing. Hills and dills? I don't know. Maybe this is slang that the 1900s teens use. Maybe dills is their riz? Who can say? I'll be real, a lot of these poems are stupid. For example, Dear Margaret, your album is a garden plot where your friends may sow. I sow the seeds forget-me-not and hope that it may grow. Your loving schoolmate, Madeline. Just because it rhymes doesn't mean it's good. I'm coming down really hard on the 1900s teens. Where's the applesauce? Here's a good one. This one I like. Dear Margaret, when you get married, don't marry a flirt, but marry a man that can mend his own shirt. Your friend, Kate. Honestly, that's solid advice. Dear Margaret, may your path through life be strewn with roses and free from every thorn. Sincerely yours, Ophelia. I gotta say, there are some cool names in here. Like Ophelia, I think there were multiple people named Genevieve. Wow, we've got another Genevieve. This is like the third Genevieve. I think Genevieve was a popular name in I guess the late 1800s. Happiness lies within us. WC. I think that's true. These 1900 teens are preachy, but they're making some good points. Dear Margaret, when you get married, don't marry a fool, but marry a boy from the Durant School. Your schoolmate, Catherine. Also good advice, don't marry a fool. Just don't do it. Dear Margaret, when you are married and live upstairs, for goodness sake, don't put on airs. Your loving schoolmate, Sophie. I like this one because it starts off saying, dear friend, and then it's erased and it says, dear Marguerite. Berkeley, California, Whittier School. Dear Marguerite, to thine own self be true, blah blah blah, it's quoting something famous. Your loving schoolmate, Ruth. Here's another incredible poem. Berkeley, California, December 22nd, 1911. Dear Margaret, do what your mother tells you, do it with a grace. When a boy wants to kiss you, just slap him in the face. Lovingly, Agnes. The other half of the perfect dance team, Francis. May 29th, 1934? That is a significant time jump. That would put Margaret in her 40s. We know she made it into adulthood. That's the only entry that says 1934. The rest are from 1906 to 1911. Okay, we have the very last entry. It has some cute little doodles. Berkeley, California, October 10th, 1908. Dear Marguerite, last in your album, last in your thought, last to be remembered, first to be forgot. Your friend, Doris. So Doris flipped to the last page of the album to be dramatic and then wrote this very emo poem that I think honestly is a little insulting. To assume that someone's gonna forget you, last in your thought, last to be remembered, first to be forgot. Like, that's so Eeyore vibes, honestly. Come on, Doris, get it together. Kids in 1908 just write each other poems all the time. It would make sense. There was nothing else to do. If you didn't have the internet or a phone, certainly you'd be writing poems. All there was to do was write poems before the internet, or like ride your bicycle into the sunset. We gotta bring back regular old people just writing poems at random. That is the end of the autograph book from the early 1900s with the creepy children and the soft velvet. The big takeaway for me is that I think we should all be doing this. We should all get an autograph book, force your friends to write a message in there, everyone you know, and then when you're old, you can look back at it and look at all the messages from your friends. Like, why did that have to stop in high school with yearbooks? Why can't we just keep doing it for the rest of our lives? Because you keep making friends throughout life, unless you're a loser. But if you're not a loser, you keep making friends throughout life, and why not get a have a good summer message from a friend you make in your 20s or 30s, 40, 50, 60, 70. It's really important that you subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.